Today's video is going to be sort of like a masterclass on self-inquiry. If you're not familiar with self-inquiry at all, today you will learn exactly how to do it step by step in a very simplified manner. And if you're already familiar with self-inquiry and you've been practicing self-inquiry for many months or years, today will help you refine your practice and bring such depth and clarity to your understanding. So I'm going to be first getting into and explaining what self-inquiry actually is and how do we go about it. And then we will get into a bunch of questions and answers, which will cover your most common questions, confusions, doubts, fears. So we'll get into all of that and we'll dissolve all of those resistances and doubts that keep you in a state of outwardness rather than inwardness in silence. I'm really excited to be sharing today's video with you. It's actually, so I'm going to be uploading only half of the entire masterclass today in this video. The other half is in my self-inquiry mini course. If you want to watch that, it's completely free. The entire mini course is free. I'm going to link it in the description box below. So you can watch the first half here and then you can go over there and roll in it quickly for free. You just have to sign up with your email and then you can watch the second half of the the masterclass inside of that mini course. Why did I do this? Because the mini course actually walks you through every single step of self-inquiry. It walks you through self-inquiry through different lenses, and it will really help you that much further. So originally I made today's class my intention was to put that class only inside of that course, but I thought, let's put half of it on YouTube as well. And of course, if you do want to go further in that, you can always just go over and look at the mini course as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Here it goes. So self-inquiry is an inquiry into self, a curiosity about who am I? What am I? What am I really? Of course, I appear to be this and that, but what am I really? Because my definition of this and that I constantly keep claiming to be, it's like there's no substance in it. There's no stability in it. There's no reality in it. So self-inquiry is exactly that. It is an inquiry into the self. It is a trying to discern and discover between the real me and the false me. What is true? So because it is an inquiry into the self, the I is of utmost importance. Because it is I and self are synonymous, When we're talking about self, we're talking about I, me, myself. I is like the meeting point, the portal between falsehood and truth, between mind or personal identity and self. Everything the mind thinks and does, it does on behalf of myself, I. The personal identity, the root of it, the substance of it is I. Yet also the most pure reflection of the self in the realm of experience is also the sense of identity, I. So this incorrect identification of the sense of identity with what is not appears to be creating the confusion. This limited identification of the sense of self seems to be creating the confusion. And here, this is what we are trying to unmix. By investigating into ourselves, we are seeing what really is I, and what it is not. So this is for the first time in our lives that we begin to, rather than just being so mesmerized and involved and captivated by the thoughts of I, the feelings of I, the experiences of I, the goals and fears, and it's just all things that are on my behalf or mine, or things that I go through, experience, have, want, not want. It's just all about my experience. So for the first time in our lives, rather than my experience or things that I am aware of, for the first time in my life, I am starting to go become curious and go inward into myself. Rather than my activities and my wants and my thoughts, I am concerned with the me, the apparent me for whom all of these things exist. That is the only shift in our interest or focus or care. Even everything that is dysfunctional about our lives is like mine, right? But here we are not interested in the mine. We are interested in the me, because like at the root of my problems is me. So I'm inquiring into me. What really is me? The I is of all utmost importance here in this investigation, which is self-inquiry. Which is why we always talk about like losing interest in what I am aware of and only being interested in the me that is aware, the I that is aware. Okay. So let me quickly share my screen with you. I just want to show you something. So this is just a little visual, and it says, just a very small excerpt. Look not for an explicit answer to the reflection, who am I? To the question, who am I? But rather seek that which is changeless and imperceptible to the senses, yet self-evident. So look not for an explicit answer to the reflection, who am I? But rather seek that which is changeless and imperceptible to the senses, yet self-evident. What is the immature mistake that we make when we start self-inquiry, right? It is, we ask ourselves this question and we wait for some sort of answer, either mental or some answer in the realm of experience. This is the incorrect way of going about self-inquiry, and it will not bear fruit. If you are waiting for a mental answer to who am I, it'll never come. If you are looking for an experiential sort of like an experience that will answer this question for you, it will never be successful. Seek not. So seek that which is changeless and imperceptible to the senses. Imperceptible to the senses, meaning the answer will never be in things that come and go. At least what we call the world, right? Our entire sensory input is what we call the world. So don't look for an answer there. It's not going to give you any answer. Also, what is subtler than the sensory input, but is a little, it's still changeful. So don't look for any explicit mental answer either. No word, no thought, no image can answer this question, because again, it is my experience. I am aware of it, and it is changeful. Therefore, it can't tell me anything about myself. It is more gross, more of an appearance that I see. It can't tell me anything about myself. Seek that which is changeless and imperceptible to the senses, yet self-evident. Through all of the changeful experience, the only thing that remains constant in your experience is the self, to whom all this stuff is happening, on behalf of whom we're doing all this stuff. The I remains the common theme, the sense of identity. You don't have to be spiritual to understand this. It is just the fact of your experience. There's no crazy blissful feeling of I. No, it's just self. You constantly refer to it every single day, every single conversation. You say, I am doing this, I am thinking this, I am doing that. I am on this call, I am hearing. There's a self to whom you're referring. What you're hearing, what you're looking at, what you're experiencing, what you're going through, what phase of life currently it is, what you like, what you don't like, what your personality is. All of these things are changeful elements of experience. But the I at the heart of them, to whom you constantly refer to with these things, is the stable, changeless component into which we're doing this inquiry. What is that self? I keep claiming it to be this and that. I keep claiming it to be all of these things. I look into my experience and say, this is the self. But the experience keeps changing, yet the self is the self. The sense of identity it's just unchangeable. It is, no matter how much hardship you go through, the sense of self, this hardship is not going to change. It's like a diamond can't be really scratched by any other material on this planet. You can put it through the toughest of tests, the toughest of things, nothing will scratch it. Just like that, like no experience you can go through can change the self. So this is why we are investigating in this way. This is why you have to, in moments of practice, rather than being so mesmerized by what I see, what I know, what I think, what I feel, what I am going through, like none of that stuff matters in moments of practice. We are inquiring into the I, which is changeless and imperceptible to the senses, to the mind. When we say the senses, you can throw the mind in there, like as a sixth sense, thinking as the sixth sense. And it says, yet self-evident, because it always is, Even when we deny the self, in the very denying of self, we affirm the self. For whom is the one who is denying, Even when we say, oh, I don't understand I am or being, you must be in order to even say such a statement. Your being is like you owe it to nothing. Your being is the most obvious aspect of this experience. So it is so self-evident and it is the only fact. And that is what we are just learning to bring our attention and interest to. Remember when we spoke about on, I think it was the last call, that this is a gathering of your attention. Right now, we're just scattered in the changeful experiences. Now we are learning to gather ourselves, gather our attention, and anything that we concentrate our attention towards, that part of life starts to open up, yield itself, starts to reveal itself to you. This is all we're doing in self-inquiry. Bringing the attention to self, away from the sense perceptions, which are just changeful experiences, appearances, to the self for whom this experience is. So the I is of utmost importance, the self that I am. And yes, I can share this image in the group afterwards. So, in a very fresh way, launch this inquiry right now. While we're together, for a moment, totally and fully bring this curiosity to the surface. Who am I? And I want you to see, like, after you launch such an investigation, what do you find yourself doing? Do you then just proceed to start thinking about who am I? Oh, no answer is coming. Oh, I don't know what is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be doing. I think I get this. Do you just find yourself thinking or creating images? Do you find yourself waiting? Oh, like, things happening. What should be happening? And please feel free to share, like, what do you feel is like the coming obstacle when you ask yourself such a question? What do you feel like you're doing wrong? Or even write, if you feel like you're practicing it correctly, share. Like, I want you to, even you could just write a few sentences or whatever, and just say, like, when you ask such a question, where does this question bring you? Or what do you find in your experience or not find in your experience? What do you find yourself doing? Smitha, you said you're trying to sense it in your body. But again, the body is, or even the sensations of the body are an experience that I have. My body, right? Here, again, you're concerned with what is mine, but you're not concerned with myself. You can't find it in the body. When you find yourself trying to do so, when you find yourself either focusing on the sensations of your body or, like looking in anything, know that you're now going outward with your search again. You're going outward into experience, into changeful experience. But the changeful experience that you say, my body, is something there's an awareness of. I am aware of it. Bring your curiosity inward. to the I that is aware of it, or the I that sees. You say my body, me and body. The me is changeless, the body is changeful. Bring your attention to the me rather than the body. Ivan, you say the same thing, trying to find it as a feeling or sensation, which is an object. You said it correctly. It is an object of my seeing, me. You're interested in the object, but not the me that sees. Bring into your acknowledgement the self that sees. Acknowledge your own being, your own seeing. Anytime you try to, you go out looking outward into sensation, there's a me. That is apparently doing or thinking or looking. Be more concerned with the one that is looking rather than what it's trying to find in what it is looking at. Keep bringing your interest, your love, devotion, care, attention to the I that is looking or seeing or figuring out, rather than the figuring out, rather than the what is being looked at. You'll never find it in experience. It won't yield to you any understanding or wisdom, any insight into self. Lillian, you said, when I ask this question, I find something seeking, but don't land on anything. And that's exactly what should be happening. For what can you land on that will tell you anything about yourself? Anything you land on is in the realm of the senses, thinking included, or just mere sensations that I see. The important part of what you just said is, I find something seeking, something is looking, something is knowing, something is being, something is seeing. Bring your attention to the one that is seeing, the one that is looking, that which is being, that which is. Smitha, you said maybe like a force around me, not really in the body, but around it. In the body, outside the body, in experience, physical or mental. It's all something you see, you are aware of, you know? Are you hoping to grab onto something? Are you hoping to see something and say, that is me? But again, who would be the I that sees? Who would be the me to whom this experience of finding the self is occurring? Cease looking in anything. Be interested in the looking itself, in the seer itself, the I that sees, the I that knows, the I that is. Therefore, the looking may happen. To practice this is to not find the self, is to be the self that is. Be concerned only with that which sees, not what it sees or what it could see. For what it can see, it will always change. But here we are looking for the changeless and the And that which is imperceptible to the senses, yet self-evident, meaning it is so obvious from where even this experience of looking is starting. Or what could you find in what you're looking at? The body sensations, the thoughts, nothing you can find will be the self. But there is the self-seeing, the self-knowing, the self-looking. Bring your attention to that. Who are you? Vidal, you said, I'm able to sense or see my feelings separate from myself. And that's good. You see this sort of separation, a sort of distance between myself and the feelings or sensations or whatever. Now take the next step. Rather than being so focused in what you see or caring about what you see, care about that which sees. The self that knows, the self that is, the self that looks. That's the self that sees the separation. Bring your attention to the I, the sense of identity, the sense of being. This is not spiritual. It is the most evident, obvious aspect of your experience. We constantly refer to it throughout the day. I, me, mine, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm talking right now, I'm listening, I'm not getting this. Even when you say I'm not getting this, you are affirming the self that is. You're affirming your being. To not get something, you must be. Without being, there would be no experience. You see, when we talk about like obstacles to self-inquiry, everything we talk about is like experience. The only real obstacle, like none of these obstacles are actually obstacles. The only obstacle is being focused in what you see and not enough interested in that which is looking. As I said earlier, the I is like the meeting point of illusion and reality, not self and self, falsehood and truth. Keep returning your attention, your care, your love, your interest to this meeting point. Sorry, I'm pointing to the heart, but that is not it. I can point to anything, but that's not really it. I can point to the body. What I just mean is like, the self. Lillian, you said something does seem to be here at all times, but it's difficult to find it and be it, as mind has a strong pull and identification seems strong. That's nonsense, because are you not at all times? Are you not being yourself at all times? Even when the mind is so strong, are you not being yourself? Is there not a self that is talking about this experience, to whom this experience occurs? Who are you? Don't just slap a label on it and call it a done deal. Look at the self that is, to whom this such an experience is happening. Instead of caring so much about what is happening, care about to whom it is happening. What is aware of this? The I that sees, the I that knows, the I that is. Again, you can't find it, You are it. And now you're actually acknowledging yourself. We keep talking about our experience, but denying ourself that already is. You say it's hard to be myself, but you are talking about I'm having this experience, I'm having this experience. You're constantly affirming yourself, referring to yourself. The problem is too much interest in experience, not enough interest in self. Be very lighthearted about this conversation. Nothing to take seriously and nothing to like strain yourself over. Be very lighthearted and relaxed. That is the only way this will happen. Ivan, you said becoming aware that I am aware. Well, yes, your own seeing, your own looking, your own knowing, your own being. You rather than what you are knowing, what you are seeing, what you are looking at, you're interested in the I that is aware, the I that knows, the I that sees, the self that is. Bring your attention to that. Don't be afraid to tread these subtle waters. Stop fighting for the seeming reality of your apparent obstacles. They're all nonsense. I promise you. They're only as real as long as you remain interested in them and keep loving them and keep thinking they are a problem. That you said, I think that's the problem. We are trying to find the self. The finding can be, like the because to find you must look, but anything you can look at is not it. The looking itself is the main emphasis. There's a self that is looking, there's a self that sees, the self that knows, the self that is, on behalf of whom any looking may happen. So yes, the obstacle is we constantly try to find it in experience, but that's the maturing aspect of this. Rather than looking for it in experience, now we start to see that anything I can look at is going to be a changeful experience, physical or mental. It won't tell me anything about myself. Be concerned with the looking itself. Is that not so factual? The seeing, the awareness, the knowing. Your own awareness, your own being is so obvious and self-evident that we take it for granted because we're just so mesmerized with what we are aware of. Rather than what we are aware of, bring your attention to being aware itself. Acknowledge that silent, wordless fact. Who am I? As what am I here? Literally anything that you can think of is an object that I see. I am not that. As what am I here? Am I a sensation? Am I a thought? Am I a word? Am I an image? Am I a feeling? Am I a sound? A sight?
where our entire experience is just summed up in these words: sound, sight, taste, smell, word, image, sensation. What else is there other than these things, which comprise a movie? But all these things I know, I see, I constantly look at, changing. Yet, as what am I aware of this? As what do I see? As what do I know? Your being is obvious. Clearly, I am. But as what am I? Am I an idea? Am I a thought? Am I a sensation? Am I a feeling? No, certainly not. These things appear to me. These things change. I am myself. I am here. As I said earlier, no matter what soup, no matter what mix of sensation, thought, image, word, taste, touch, smell, right, which is just your entire experience. Not like the world has no existence apart from these words that I'm just mentioning. The five senses, thought, sensation, feeling, that's what the entire experience, those are like the building blocks of experience. No matter what mix and soup of these currently is appearing, it changes. And even when it changes, it does not scratch me. It does not change me. It does not alter my identity, my being, my knowing. Who am I? As what am I here? The search is bringing you to the acknowledgement of your factual being, of that which is. Your being and knowing are the only two facts to which this question is bringing you to the acknowledgement of. Jonathan, you said, when I ask who am I allow the attention to relax inward, and all I find is looking. Absolutely. Seeing, knowing, being. No concern with objects, no interest in objects, no interest in what I see, only the seeing. What I see is illusion, the seeing is fact. What I see is changing, the seeing itself is simply here. In order to change, it must appear as a definable object, such as a sensation or thought or experience. But what itself just does not arise as a changeable or as an objective object or definable thing, how can it go through change? Only things go through change. Is the self a thing? You have to contemplate these things, And so quickly you start to just like acknowledge your changeless being. Lillian, you say, I see that after the fact, but in moments of identification, I suffer. Okay, I will keep being more interested in what is aware versus objects and experience. And your suffering will just keep perpetuating itself, keep building on itself. The more you venture off into your experience, the more you just stay concerned with what you are aware of, with the more you stay concerned with illusion. The moment you start to tread this path inward to yourself, the moment you start to acknowledge your own being and knowing, this is the light which will start to illumine all of your experience. This is a light that will dispel all of the darkness, the apparent suffering, which is the suffering which is the apparent obstacle to your inquiry. You say, once maybe my suffering ends, then I'll be able to do this. But it is the other way around. You going inward is the only way that the suffering will be dispelled. Understand that, and with that understanding, prioritize this more than you do your own suffering. Prioritize this inwardness more than you prioritize your constant thoughts about this and that and this and that. What's going to happen to poor little me? What my life, my personal life, my past, my future. That is our problem. That is our only obstacle. The amount of care and interest we attribute to what I appear to be, what I apparently am, what my idea of myself is. You want a perfect cocktail for suffering? Stay focused in that. Keep giving that reality. Keep giving that interest. But I promise you, the moment you start becoming aware of what you actually are, the moment you start becoming interested in what you actually are, your suffering it literally cannot exist. It cannot persevere. Can darkness remain when you turn on the light? It cannot. It just vanishes. Like it cannot coexist. Take to challenge these words and test them out. But you have to be honest. You have to be sincere. You have to be truly devoted. And you will surely succeed. Nothing can stop you, for you already are, and you already know. You're not creating these things. You already are. You're just acknowledging these facts over your constant immersion in what you know, what appears. You see? Very, very simple, very, very light. Nothing heavy to do, nothing heavy to make happen. Doris, you said, I find it hard to notice the noticer or be interested in who is noticing when strong emotions or pain is present. It's hard, do it anyway. The pain or the sensation or the emotion is what I see. Be interested in the eye that sees, not in what I see. Persevere. It'll be okay. Keep persevering. Keep turning inward to the self that is aware, the self that is, the self that knows. For the emotions and the sensations, they will keep on changing. They will keep on being there or not being there. But there is a self that they're not scratching or damaging or changing. There's a continuity at the heart of your experience, always, no matter how much it changes. This is an investigation to that one. So look at it as like you're just playing the video game at a higher level of difficulty, if like emotions or pain is present or whatever, you know. But take that challenge. Don't resist your challenge. Don't feel bad about yourself. Don't worry about yourself. Take what life has given you. Love it. Be happy with it. Use it, you know. that is your surrender to life. And it will soften you up, and it will melt your pride. It will melt your arrogance. It will melt your ignorance. Have total humility. Give your life up to God, to reality, to truth. Be interested in this, in yourself. And therefore, again, as I said to Lillian, the light will start to shine brighter, and it will dispel your darkness. Very fancy words, but the practice is quite practical, and it resolves what you feel like needs to be resolved first before you do this. It's not that way. It's always the other way around. Rajesh, you said, I can label it only as formlessness, isness. You see how, like, even when we try to use mental words, it's never like an actual thing. It's always like an awareness, meaning like even the word is sort of failing to describe it. It's like a formlessness, like isness. It's like the word is trying to get at it, but it can't really grab a hold of it, because again, words can only grab hold of things. It has to be a definable object. Only those things can be concretely labeled and described. When you try to label that which is not appearing as a thing that is subject to change and decay, then words cannot go there. Words cannot label it, because there's nothing that is definitive. You see, a definition is a boundary. It says this is that, and therefore it cannot be this. This is a phone, but it is not a book. A book can't be a phone because it has certain objective qualities that are different to that of the phone. On the level of objects, there's differences, definitions, boundaries, qualities. But when we are when we're bringing to our curiosity that which is changeless, we're like treading subtler waters. It's no longer an experience that I can say it began here and ended here. It is this and it is not this. It has this quality and not that quality. We can try to get at it with words such as this, but we can do that for conversation purposes, but ultimately that's not even necessary. And we're sort of just reveling in the definitionless, unconditional being, knowing. And can you even fathom the miraculousness of that? Lose yourself in the wonder of being that which is not arising as a thing, which is not something you can define, which is not something that is happening, which is not something that is subject to change. Just lose yourself in this curiosity, this interest, this inquiry. As what am I here? As what do I perceive? As what am I aware? Who am I? Don't look for an answer. Be the answer. Be that which sees. Be that which knows. For you are already that which sees, that which knows, that which is. Come to the acknowledgement of your being, of your knowing. You know yourself in form. Now start to understand your formless essence. Your unbound, definitionless, unconditional existence.
So that is the first half of this entire class. If you wish to watch it further, the second half and much more, then click the link in the description box below for my self-inquiry mini course. It's completely free. But the link will take you over there. You can sign up and you can start going through the entire mini course, which will help you profoundly deepen your understanding and practice. I hope today's video was helpful. I'll see you over there in the mini course.